I am Jairus, and this is my story. The morning she stopped eating, I told myself it was nothing. Children get fevers. Children sleep too long and refuse their bread and turn away from the smell of food. I had seen it before, in the villages, in the homes of men I knew. A week of worry, and then the child is running again, laughing, chasing the goats through the courtyard. I told myself this was that. I told myself this would pass. But by the third day I knew. I knew because of her hands. My daughter's hands. Small and brown, always moving, always reaching for something, always tangled in my beard when she climbed into my lap. Those hands had gone still. They rested at her sides like fallen leaves. And when I picked one up and held it between my palms, it was warm in the wrong way. Not the warmth of life, the warmth of a fire burning through its last wood. She was 12 years old. I am a ruler of the synagogue. I want you to understand what that means, not as a title, but as a weight. It means I am the man the people look to. I am the one who keeps order, who reads the scrolls, who decides who speaks and who is silent, who is welcomed and who stands outside. I am responsible for the dignity of this place, for the honor of the law, for the respect owed to everything that is holy. My whole life has been built on one thing: knowing what is proper. And so for 12 years, her entire life, I had kept a careful distance from this man they were calling a teacher. This Jesus. I had heard the reports, the way they always came in whispers at first, then louder. A leper cleansed, a demon cast out, a paralyzed man walking home carrying the mat he had laid on for years. I had listened to these stories the way a careful man listens to rumors, with interest but with my arms crossed, with my face arranged into something neutral, because my position required it. Because if I opened myself to every wandering rabbi who stirred up crowds, I would lose the trust of every elder, every Pharisee, every man in this town who looked to me to hold the line between the sacred and the sensational. I had built walls. Careful, dignified walls. And then my daughter stopped moving her hands. The morning I left to find him, I did not tell my wife where I was going. I told myself this was because I did not want to give her false hope. But that was not the whole truth. The whole truth was that I did not want her to see the look on my face, the look of a man who has run out of every other option. There is a difference between faith and desperation, and I was not yet sure which one was pushing me out the door. The air that morning smelled of fish and dust and the faint rot of seaweed drying in the sun near the shore of Galilee. The market was already stirring. Merchants unrolling their mats, women haggling over grain, children weaving between legs like water through stones. I moved through all of it without seeing it. My feet knew where I was going, even when my mind kept arguing with itself. He is not what they say he is. He is exactly what they say he is, and that is what frightens you. Go home, Jairus. Go home and call for another physician. There are no more physicians. You have called them all. The crowd near the water's edge was already thick when I heard his name. Someone said it aloud, Jesus, and a ripple went through the people, that particular kind of ripple that moves through a crowd when something important is happening. I pushed forward. My elbows cut through. I, who had spent my entire life standing in places of honor, shoved and pressed and shouldered my way through like a desperate common man. Because I was desperate, and in that moment I was not a ruler of anything. I saw him before he saw me. He was not what I expected. I do not know what I expected. Something louder, perhaps. Something that announced itself. But he was standing there in conversation, unhurried, listening to someone with the kind of attention that made you feel the whole world had gone quiet around him. His face was not remarkable. His robe was travel-worn. He looked like a man who had walked a long road and would walk many more. And then something happened inside my chest that I cannot fully explain. It was not a thought. It was more like a door opening in a room I had kept locked for a very long time. My legs bent before my mind gave them the order. I was on the ground. My knees hit the dirt, dusty, hard, littered with small stones that pressed into my skin, and I did not care. I, Jairus, ruler of the synagogue, pressed my forehead toward the earth at the feet of a Galilean carpenter, and I wept. Not politely, not the restrained grief of a man maintaining his composure. I wept the way a man weeps when every wall he has built has finally fallen, and there is nothing left to hide behind. The words came out broken, but they came out. My little daughter. She is dying. Please come. Lay your hands on her. She will live. I know she will live, if you only come. I said please. I, who had never needed to say please to anyone in this town, said please like a man drowning says it, like a man who has finally understood that no amount of position or propriety or careful distance will save his child. All my dignity, all my walls, all my years of keeping myself respectable and unreachable, I laid it all down in the dirt beside my knees. And the strange thing, the thing I will never forget, is that he did not make me feel small for it. He looked at me, really looked, the way people rarely look at each other, and he said he would come. Just that, simply, without performance, he would come. We moved through the crowd, and the crowd moved with us. People pressed in from every direction, shoulders, elbows, the heat of bodies packed close, the smell of sweat and smoke and sun-warmed cloth. I stayed close to him because I was afraid that if I lost sight of him, I would wake up and discover that none of this had happened, that I was still in the market, still arguing with myself, that my daughter was still lying in that room with her terrible, still hands. And then he stopped. Someone touched me. My heart clenched. We did not have time for stops. I wanted to say it aloud. We did not have time. She did not have time. Every minute we stood here was a minute we were not there. I felt the panic rising in my throat like bile, hot and urgent. Every second he stood there asking who had touched him was a second my daughter was slipping further from me. But I watched him. I watched him find the woman who had reached out from behind the crowd. This trembling, hollow-eyed woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. The same number of years my daughter had been alive, and I watched the way he spoke to her. Daughter. He called her daughter. He told her that her faith had made her well. He told her to go in peace. And something cracked open in me even as my fear screamed. Because if he could do that, if he could feel one trembling hand reach for the hem of his robe in a crowd of hundreds and stop and turn and restore an entire life, then maybe. But then the men came from my house. I saw their faces before they reached me, and I already knew. I knew from the way they were walking, not rushing, not urgent, but slow with the heaviness of men carrying news that cannot be hurried. I knew from the way they would not quite meet my eyes at first. Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher anymore. The world did not go black. I want to tell you it went black, that I collapsed, that something dramatic happened. But grief is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is just a sound that stops. The sound of hope, which had been playing somewhere just beneath my heartbeat for the last hour, simply went silent. And the silence was worse than anything loud could have been. The hollow ache that opened in my chest was bottomless. My hands, my own hands now, began to shake. And then his voice, calm as still water. Do not be afraid, only believe, and I will not tell you the rest in detail. Not because it did not happen, but because some things change you so completely that the only words left afterward feel too small. I will only tell you this. She was lying there when we arrived, and then she wasn't lying there in the same way. His hand took hers, those still warm in the wrong way hands, and he spoke to her, and she sat up. She asked if there was something to eat. Here is what I know now, standing on the other side of that day. Every human being alive carries some version of what I carried through that crowd. The thing you refuse to let fall until you absolutely have to. The wall you have built to protect your position, your pride, your carefully arranged life. The moment when everything you have relied on runs out and you are left with your knees in the dirt and nothing but a desperate, unpolished pleas. That is not a moment to be ashamed of. That is the moment you find out what is actually strong enough to hold you. The scripture reference is Mark 5:21-43.